Camilla, the last few weeks were crazy. Um, but before we dive into that, maybe you could give us a little intro, who you are and what you do. And then we are going through the usual journey of the podcast, which is focusing first on you as a person. And then later on, we go on to tell, and you tell us what you guys are doing.
Yeah, for sure. So hi everyone, I'm Camilla. I'm co-founder of Forgis. I started, I'm from Italy originally. I'm from Bergamo. Then I started my career as a professional skier. I did competitions until I was 21, then stopped skiing, just focus on engineering. I did my bachelor's in computer engineering, so more on the software side, then moved to ETH where I did robotics. And I did a few internship, few work experiences along them. Yeah.
I mean, quite a journey. So I always trying to decipher and see who's behind the technologies, who's behind the company. And you gave us a little bit of cliffhanger here. I mean, let us bring us down the journey to doing sports on a professional level, and then later on we dive into the studies and what you guys are trying to solve today.
Yeah, sure, sure. Well, I actually started skiing because I had asthma problems when I was very young. So I was living in Bergamo in a city near Milan, and it's very famous for having a lot of smoke. So I was having these health issues, and then the doctor told my mother, yeah, the only thing you can do is bring her to the mountain. So I was there spending like my 7, 8 years just being in the mountain. So what can you do? Well, I started skiing for sure. And since the first moment, I really loved it, really enjoyed it. So I went to my mother and said, hey, I really want to do competitions. And they were like, what do you mean competitions? I always had this drive for, being challenged, try to push myself. So I started to do actual races, and then I grew very fast. And then at 13, I was already, one of the top 10 in Italy. So at 13, I left my hometown. So I left Bergamo. I moved to South Tyrol. I moved to Mals, which is one of the most famous sports schools for winter sports in Europe, where you have like all the talents, the talented people. And there I started this school like in German without knowing any word of German because I really wanted to be super successful. And there were so many, Olympics here that went out of that school. So it was for me the best part. And also, again, very challenging environment where you need to start a school without knowing the language. And then in just a few months, you really have to learn it very fast. So I spent there 5 years, were like craziest years of my life. You can imagine like being at 13 already living alone in a completely different culture. And that really taught me so much about what it means to sacrifice, to really work hard. Because I think like honestly, like the sport life is the toughest one, and then when you go back to the normal life, it's like, oh, this is so easy. So over these 5 years, my life was basically just skiing in the morning and having school in the afternoon because it's organized in the way that you can combine both of them. I've always been very good in the scientific part, like in the scientific subjects, already from like middle school to high school. But I didn't like school that much because I felt like it was always super slow. So I was spending most of my time, like instead of being in school, being home and just doing my projects. So I started like, I don't know, using Arduino when I was already 14, 15, building my own robot arms in the house in the afternoon. So yeah, I was a bit complicated, but always had like top grades. And then after this
Wait
five,
a second. Wait a second. Is that was that influenced by somebody or something? Because I mean, sports and technology are not necessarily something that are totally different, but very often they are, right? So some people are into sports and some people are into technology, and also skiing. You said that this came out of the environment where you were. Did your entire family move there? So
no,
you.
no, my family was still living in Bergamo. So I was living in a ski college. So in this school, basically, you
No,
have
no, before that, I mean, because you said that due to your condition, it was a good idea to go into the mountains.
ah,
And was that something that happened? So you were just being active in the mountains? I was unsure if I got this wrong.
I was living 3, 4 days a week in the mountains, so my
Mm,
mom was always with me in these 3, 4 days, and the remaining day I was living in Bergamo. So it was 1 hour away from my house, and then I was going to
mm.
yeah, I was there for a few days a week just to get some fresh air.
Nice. And the come back to the technology part where we left off. Was that something that was out of pure interest, or have you been influenced by mostly families or friends or parents? Or yeah, maybe you can chat a bit about this.
Yeah, so actually, no, like my family was always like it was not like didn't know why I had this interest like sport competitively as well as engineering because like my mom is a lawyer and my dad is an entrepreneur, so more on the business side, so completely different backgrounds. But I always had this interest for building things. So I started, with Legos, so very small things, but I always had this passion for like starting from scratch and creating a concept, like really the whole process of seeing how from like zero you can build something, right? And so I had, of course, like when you're maybe 10, 12 years old, then this is Lego. Then when you start to understand how to code, how to use computers or like, I don't know, 3D print parts, then it turned into more complex things like robot arms or
Mm.
I don't know, small projects, do it yourself project. So I don't know exactly where this comes from, really. Also, my family always asked me, but I always had this curiosity to explore and to build things in my way. So yeah, I don't know to be honest.
No, it's great. I mean, it does. I mean, I'm always just very curious about this, in terms of, have you seen this or experiences or somebody taught you that? So yeah, I'm just very curious about this part because it always shows some sort of pattern because there's a lot of founders here on the podcast, and yeah, very often it is heavily influenced by a teacher or a brother, sister, or mother, father. But yeah, I mean, it's even harder then to do these kind of things because there's not too many people you can relate to, right? You will find people in sports, you will find people then who do this kind of technology adventures to talk about these kind of things. But yeah, maybe you do the talking a bit more.
Yeah, I think it was also a lot about YouTube, which is something good. But I started to watch content on YouTube when I was very young, and I actually wanted to become a YouTuber at the beginning, but I was too shy to post anything.
Mm,
You have so much content about, yes, like do it yourself projects, people working with Arduinos, and was also the first time I heard about Arduino. And that influenced me because then like from there I took inspiration from a few projects, but always also there in that cases, I always, I don't know, like maybe I watched a project on YouTube and then I was like, okay, how can I do it differently? How can I do it my own project, not just copy it? Because always wanted to have like, okay, always envision what's the final thing I want to build and then just figure out like randomly how can I build it, because I hate to, I don't know, study. That's why I also didn't like school that much. I hate to study for like, I don't know, preparing for an exam. It's more, okay, I want to do this super cool thing. What do I need to learn in order to do it? And this is way more interesting like path on like as learning process, that is, yeah, you can get way more and not like it's not that effortless. And it's also like how I did it with school, for example. Like I started the school in German mainly because it felt less effort to just start it and learn German by being in a school and having to do it, than take a book and, I don't know, like, do the entire vocabulary and learn every word one by one.
yeah, that means what people call like immerging yourself into something, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I was always I had this thing of getting obsessed with things. Like also in skiing, for example, they were really called me obsessed because if I have one thing in my mind, it's like I dedicate 110% of my time to do this. And also when I was doing, I don't know, my projects, I still remember when I was already 15 years and then spending nights like I don't know soldering parts of it. So it was really okay until I finish it. I don't go out of my room, like forget to eat or whatever, just to do it.
Obsessively. And there's a lot of learnings. I mean, one of the reasons why I have this podcast is to show how other people are doing it and how other people are functioning and what is the base of achieving different kind of things. And you said two very important things. I mean, we talked about this immersion part, like being very obsessive, but this I need to figure it out on my own, right? And this is the learning curve is very high. I mean, some things is very hard to teach yourself. I mean, when they are too abstract, right? I mean, physically you can do a lot of things, but when they're too abstract, it's I think very hard. It's very hard to teach yourself some abstract math concepts of physics. But this brings me to the other part that I found very interesting. And this is one of the other reasons why I have this podcast is being inspired by. And very often, so this reason why I was asking earlier, is it a parent, is it a sibling or a friend? But it also can be social media. So, I mean, this is the reason why I have this podcast, right? And the accessibility, as you said, of YouTube, I have no one who's being able to teach me these kind of things. I don't see it anywhere. So there's two parts missing, right? I can't see it and nobody's teaching me, right? So, but then you do the seeing part, you see it, and then you do the teaching part on your own, which you could also do on YouTube partly. Amazing. And I really love the fact that you shared this because some people found it more interesting or to say, yeah, I got this from a book or I got this from a teacher. No, you can do things on your own. You can just discover the curiosity you were mentioning earlier. This is what where yeah gave you the tools to do the things you did, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. No, it was such an important part for me, and this was always okay. I don't need anybody. Just I can go on YouTube, think about ideas, look into the web, and then find out things on my own, right?
Very impressive. And yeah, I mean, where the competitiveness part and obsessive part comes, I think this is then it comes to character.
So I think
But
like a competition for me is even a problem. Like I'm not joking because also in skiing, like I learned to handle failures, but I'm really like the most competitive person out there. Like I'm not joking. Even when I was like, if super young, it was really hurting me to lose. Like I always had this thing. Okay, I'm losing. I'm not good enough. But on the other side, like I'm learning very fast, right? So these two parts of um, always feeling that I need to win, but also knowing that I'm doing a lot and I'm doing things differently.
Mhm.
This competitiveness was like at the beginning of my skiing races specifically, I was really struggling because especially in sport, you lose like 99% of the time, which you need to start to accept it. But for me, it was very painful. Like I hated to lose. And then with the time, of course, I went over like I learned it in that way also, like in especially if you do competitive sports, like when you go to European Cup and so on, you get into like people supporting you in this, and this was very helpful for me as well, to really understand, okay, it's okay to fail, you need to accept it, you need to learn it, and having it more in a positive way. But for me initially it was really something, yeah, that I didn't like.
I mean, now I think I will mix up two things I saw, merging it into together. One other thing is you said 99% you lose anyways. I think there's a famous speech from Roger Federer, and he says that over the entire course of his lifetime, how many games he played and how many he lost. So that even like 50% of the games he lost, right? And he's one of the most successful players at all time. So he says the part to get over it. This is what separates the top 20 to top 5 players. So it's not the food or how much they train or how much work they put into it. It's like the mental part. So you need to get over it. You need to accept that not you need to make yourself forget about it, that you just lost, and you need to focus on the next point. Crazy. Yeah, crazy. And thanks for sharing. This is something that is very personal because a lot of people can't deal with it, and but it also gives you some sort of competitive advantage because, yeah, please.
Yeah, no, I can really see like I think I wouldn't be here if I didn't have this part of skiing because many people tell me like I mean until 21 I was basically focusing 90% of my time just on skiing. So you can say, oh, imagine if you started to be an engineer before you could have achieved so much more. But to be honest, I don't think so because I think everything I learned being a competitive skier and like everything I went through, like all the learnings, all the part of understanding how to fail, switching off, starting with a new mindset every day, the sacrifice, the hard work, the unpredictability, all these things like teach you so much personally, make you grow so much personally that you cannot do it in a school or in any, like you cannot learn it in any university. So I think if I have this mindset now is mainly due to the fact that I spend so much time doing sports in this way. So I think it can really see it also when you talk to other people and where you're surrounded, for example, at ETH, with the greatest minds. But you can see the difference in this particular thing, and especially if you go into entrepreneurship, which is has a lot of parallel things, like a lot of commonalities. Then yeah. Um, you can see really see the difference.
And have you had friends throughout school or in private life that were in similar situations? So did you had someone to talk to? Is that something that because I think there's a lot of pressure on trying to be a competitive skier and trying to make it. Um, but also the technology parts. This is not necessarily very nerdy, but not everyone is playing and soldering in their free time when they're 15, right? So tell me.
No, I think I was honestly I didn't have like anybody in my school that was yeah that was having both the sport and technology. I think it's pretty difficult to find, and the only one that do it like I have now a few friends that are entrepreneur and they were like athletes before, and you can really see the pattern like they're very successful. But in general, yeah, it's not that common to have people that do sport competitively and have this passion for technology because you have, like in a sport, you have so much pressure in terms of the physical part, and it's really like you focus all your energy to improve physically. So it's also difficult to combine it to use all of your energy to improve also mentally. So there is this completely different path. So there are not so many people doing it. But I think, yeah, always, but anyways, had very good relationships. So I really had my friends on mainly on the skiing part, and yes, on let's say on the technological part, I was more alone doing it, but I still enjoyed it generally. So it was also my, let's say, safe part where I could switch and I could forget, I don't know, about what I was doing in skiing or about things that were not working well there, and I could like use this negative energy to do something I liked.
And because you were talking about the soldering at 15 and then the competitive part came a little bit later on. So was there a time where you were only focusing on sports then?
No, I mean, I was always doing both of them. So always, I did competitions from 8 years old to 21 years old. And I started with the projects. I mean, I started to use, okay, Legos also at 8, 9 years, then doing my own projects from 15 years to 21. And in my at 20, I also started the university in parallel with skiing, but I was not really studying, to be honest, at that point.
Hmm.
So it was always both in parallel, but it was always 90% of my time is sport, 10% is just something I really passionate about and I do it anyways.
When there was the time to make the decision going one way or the other, was the decision made by outside, how do you say this, outside powers, or was that a decision that you made consciously?
No, I made it consciously, but what happened that so I started the first year of university and I was still competing. And in the first year of university, I didn't do much, like I did one exam or so. Because of course it also made sense to focus most of the time to skiing because you can ski until 35, you can always study. That was the mindset, right? So I was like, okay, I'll do it in parallel, I'll do it very slow, but at the end, when I finish my career, I also have an engineering degree. Then in the second year of university, I actually got like at the beginning, so it was in January, so 1.5 year over in the university degree. I got a bad injury. So while skiing in a race, I broke my ACL, meniscus, everything, like my entire leg. I had to go over three surgeries. And after that, I had to basically stop skiing for 9 months because I had to recover. And that time, I mean, having injuries in skiing is very normal. Like it happens when you start the career, you know it will happen. It's just a matter of when. So it's not like, oh, I couldn't continue. But in these 9 months, I had nothing to do, right? So what should I have done? I studied a lot. And in these 9 months, I basically did almost 2 years of university in 9 months. And I had crazy results. I was also like working full time in at the same time because I went to a company in the UK to do industrial automation. So I was really, I saw it, okay, there is another life. Like I'm really passionate about this. It's input is one, output is 10x. It's super predictable. I just put some effort, I get the results, and I really like it. So I was like, look, I want to do this for my entire life. I don't want to wait still 10 years doing competitions. I see myself more in this path. And then I decided, and of course it wasn't easy, and it was actually against like everybody in like my family and my coaches, my friends were like, "What are you doing? You're crazy! Like you're one step before going into like the really top 100, top 50 in the world. So why are you doing it?" And but I just felt it was the right decision, and I did it.
Uh, these are the situations on the podcast I'm also very, very passionate and interested about because, especially when there is, I always use this example. One of the guests, I hope she don't mind. It's also a woman. Everyone in the family was a doctor, and she was supposed to become a doctor as well, and then deciding not to become a doctor and building robots instead. So, I'm always asking about this kind of, yeah, very important points, affliction points, where we need to make a decision, and especially when there's outside pressure. But it seems like, I mean, maybe you can talk tell me about this, but it seems like you, even though it was hard, you were able to do it. Uh, did you had any outside, yeah, again, question or conversations that helped you here, or was that something also that came from within?
No, it really came from me, I would say, maybe to like explain how it went. So I had this injury, and then I had 1 month where I couldn't do anything. Like I was also devastated by the surgery. So I spent 1 month just reading, like just going over all and I'm really passionate also about spirituality and all these books. And so I did a month where I was like, okay, now I really want to understand what I want to do with my life. I want to spend just my time thinking about how I envision my future to be, what I'm passionate about. And this month was for me really revolutionary. And it was like, okay, this is what I really think. I don't care about if people think this is not right. This is what I think is right. And this is how the decision came. And at that point, I knew this was my path. And then, of course, I still had 8 months. So I said, okay, I'll try it out. This is what I think I'll be doing. Like I'll put my effort, all of my effort to make it work, and let's see if it works. And these 8 months were crazy because really, like I was getting crazy results in the university. I was also working, and I really enjoyed it, what I was doing. So for me, that at that point, it was a clear decision. And the people were actually trying to give me like the opposite, right? Like, okay, I think you should really try to continue skiing because it's this time of, you have 1, 2 years, and then if these go well, then you can just leave out of skiing. While studying, you can always postpone it, like who cares, right? Um, but at that point, I was like, okay, no, I know this is what I see myself, and I don't want to spend time on doing something I don't feel right.
Impressive, impressive, because of the strength that this aura that you have. Like I have people from outside telling me I should do this or that, but I feel I should do this, so I'm doing this. Because I think there's a lot of people struggling finding out what they would like to do in life. And I mean, I'm having this kind of career now for a couple of years now, but it took me a while. I'm 42 now. So I'm very glad and happy that it worked out for you. And you do seem like a person that is, because I think people that talk to you, family, friends, coaches, as you said, the studying part you can do later on, but you can only do skiing, becoming a pro in this kind of years. So some would think, what if she regrets this in a couple of years? Let's say your company, because this is also inevitable, the company will go bankrupt in the future. Your job as a founder and C-level is to postpone it into the future as fast as you can, right? As far as you can. But this cannot work out, right? But you seem confident in the decision, and you also seem like a person who will not regret the decision.
Yeah, yeah, I think for sure not. Like, I was like, this is the right decision, and I will not regret it. And it's like many people were also putting it in the sunk cost, which is something I hate. When they were like, oh, but you spent 10 years doing skiing, and now you want to completely switch, you're losing any opportunity, you're super behind. I mean, I'm 21, I have no course, I did no courses at the university, I have no work experience. Like, you're super behind, right? And many people put you in this situation where saying, oh, you spent already 10 years, why can you not spend 1 year, 2 years? But this is so dumb. Like, I did this and I learned so much. It's not about sunk costs. What I did is like why I'm here and why I have this mindset, this personality is because I did all of this. So it's not just because I stopped, I lost it. So that was the most difficult part, but I am always like, I really like sunk cost for me is really wrong mindset. Like what you did, it was because you thought at that point it was the best decision, like the best thing to do. At this point, I think the best thing to do is to quit it. So there is no sunk cost. It's just the best decision at any time.
I have this podcast for other people to listen and learn, but also for me to listen and learn. And this is something I struggle a lot with, because when I was 22, I was, yeah, for many, many years from that point onwards, I was doing a lot of jobs that were not leading me anywhere. So I also belong to that category and thinking of sunk loss of years of I could have done something else much more productive or much more fruitful for my life. But yeah, I think you're totally right. But I mean, there's a huge part in understanding and accepting, right? So, but awesome. I mean, it's good that you think this way, and I think this also is partly uh, the success in sport, as you said. I can't the race that you lost. There's no way of getting me winning this race I just lost, right? So it's better to focus on the next race and make the next race count. Um, this is very, very interesting. I'm happy that you said yes, because I was talking to your co-founder and CEO also, and we were asking ourselves who would be the better person, and I think we all made the right decision having you here. So I'm very happy. But let's continue you talking. You are my guest. So being then totally immersed again into studies and finishing the degree, you were mentioning the entrepreneurial part of I think you said your father. Was that something that you have been aware of, or you've been surrounded with, or is that now just a conclusion of what you guys are doing?
No, I mean, not really. Like, I didn't even know what my dad was doing. Like, he was manager, and I didn't know when you're young, what does it mean? Like, what is he doing? He's sending emails. So this is what I saw. But there was no pressure from inside. I mean, I think he always had this mindset of like being like, you know, you have to take risks. It's good to take risks. Like this open mindset,
Mm.
like, yeah, towards situations that are uncomfortable, towards situations that challenge you. Like he was also the one that supported me in like going away when I was 13 years old, while my mom was completely against it. But
This is our job.
yes, exactly, exactly. So yeah, I think this was everything. But apart from that, I didn't know what he was doing, and I didn't know what it means to be an entrepreneur, what it means to build companies. So yeah, didn't have that much insight on that.
Mm. I said this with such a force because just yesterday I have a little one. She's 2.5. She like a little girl, and we've been to the playground, and I let her jump off from the top in my arms, and it's quite a bit of a jump. And there was some other mothers standing around the end, and they had fear of their kids trying to do the same kind of jump. And I said, "Yeah, I'm sorry, but we're here and we need to do this because I want her to teach. There's no reason for having fear. I catch her, right? So, and having the inherent strength and braveness of just taking the leap and risk. So this is the reason why I said it's our job to encourage our kids and say, you know, there's risk, but we got you. So why not do the jump? Um, the the part of you going to the UK, so this means a second time a culture shock, right? Because you're Italian and being in a German school learning German is strange enough, I guess. And I mean, you learned English some throughout your education, but going to the UK is a different game. How was that for you?
No, yeah, I mean, it was again very shocking because I started this job that, yeah, my dad like helped me in also getting. And it was like an industrial automation, so I had to program robots. But imagine myself, like I just finished 2 months ago to do my skiing career. I did one exam at my university, so I have like zero knowledge about how to program robots, zero knowledge about like anything. I mean, I of course I had all my projects, so I was already super like into programming, but I never had like industrial experience. And at that point, also like my dad, I think he was very good in, let's say, helping me in taking more strategic decisions. Because at that point, I was like, how can I do a job? And he was like, just try it. Like nothing will happen. You're smart. You will figure it out. And so I moved to the UK, and in the first month I couldn't do anything, right? I'm not able to do nothing. So what I was doing, I was in the manufacturing department, legit like just using CNC machines, working as an operator, just trying to figure out everything like in the plant because I didn't know what to do, no? And in the same time, I started also to like talk to engineers there, understand, okay, how were the machines, they were working, what sort of programming languages they were using it. So I had like, yeah, 80% of my time spent on the manufacturing division, really doing like basics job, and 20% trying to understand like how to program, how to like PLC works, how industrial robots work, so that I could prepare to taking more projects. And then after like 1 month there, I remember I had like a sort of projects I did myself in this 20% of my time. And then I went to the engineers and told them, hey, look, I was able in my 20% of my time to do this. Can I join your team in the engineering division? And after that month, then they were pretty impressed because I could program like a robot for picking and placing, picking and placing application that they were working on since months. But they had a problem with like an array or something. I don't remember exactly, but they were super impressed because they couldn't figure it out, and I did it in like while learning it. And so I started then to work on the engineering division, like on the software engineering part. And there I started with a few projects, like for packaging mainly. So these Delta robots from Omron. Then I went to other projects for, like again, picking and placing for sorting. It was for, I don't remember the application, but it was for kits of different screws. And then after these two projects, I worked very well. And then I started also to like the third month or the fourth month, they gave me an entire project that I could handle like independently. So from really getting the requirements from the customer to writing the entire software and then testing it, deploying it with the customer. So it was amazing because I grew super fast from like really just cutting metal to like being leading the entire project of, I don't know, 500,000. So I learned so much, and I never saw all these things in my university, right? I just learned it in the job.
I mean, I'm impressed that first again, yeah, I mean, your mindset is very dedicated, but also the environment. I mean, I have no idea how it is in the UK, but I have been in manufacturing. I worked for Siemens for a couple of years, and they wouldn't let touch you anything because this is corporate, this is German corporate. So it's very hard to do anything, especially with machines, but because there's so many regulations, so many people having an eye on that, and you need to have a certificate and a diploma, and because the machines are old and expensive. And but I like the way that you fight yourself into this yeah, industry. And but you also were doing a lot of things in parallel because market research, right? You were trying to figure out the technology. You talked to the customer, colleagues, customer. So there's a lot of learning from everything that you do need to do today as an entrepreneur as well. This is yeah, this
And
is
I was also like studying at the same time because I did like 60 credits that semester while I
Mhm,
was working full time in the UK,
mhm.
trying to move from like manufacturing division to leading my projects. I had to like I was getting back to the house. I don't know, like I was working from 6:45 in the morning until like yeah, I don't know, in the afternoon. So normal job, but I was spending a bit more of time just to learn more about like the programming part. And then I always used to go back home and then study until like midnight or so, because I had to do like 60 credits in one semester. And I couldn't even go to like the classes. I had to study on my own because I didn't have the time to go to classes. So it was very intense time. I think it was legit the most intense time of my life. Like I worked more than I'm working now, which is already a lot. But because I had to, yeah, to juggle on different things. And also in that summer, it's super funny. I also started another project. So just because I don't know why, but I was interested and with one colleague in the UK. And so I had like three projects at the same time. And yeah,
What was the other project?
it was a mosaic machine.
Okay.
So it's super weird thing, but I think it's like one of the projects I'm more proud of. And it was like the idea was, okay, how can we take like an image, then like run some CV model, and then we have like a set of we have a database of tiles colors, so could be like 30 colors. And then from this image, you need to represent it in a 1 meter by 1 meter mosaic with just these 30 colors. So use like we were using like just a clustering algorithm to like get to the nearest one. You had to do some additional pre-processing stuff. Otherwise, like just the Euclidean distance is not a good indicator. And then from there, like I was computing like the styles representation. Then I was feeding it through Python to an Arduino, and then had like all these tiles color in a stack. And then I had a pusher that was like pushing the right color, and then a picking machine that was picking this part, placing it on a like bioadhesive base. And so you could basically just get orders from a website, from an image, and then get like the mosaic 1 by 1 meter by 1 meter of this image that you could put, I don't know, for example, on in the bathroom or on a swimming pool.
So can I purchase it? Is there a website where I can feed my picture into it?
I didn't continue to work on that at the end because yeah, because then I went back to Italy, and then I had another job, so it was too many things at the same time. But yes, it was really one of the coolest projects because I did everything. I did everything from mechanical design, from yeah, like the software part, the tiles, searching for the database, organizing these things, the website, like the entire electrical part, everything.
Nice. Like the full stack and immerging yourself into the project again.
Yes.
Yeah, the so you came back to Italy and you had a different job.
I
Maybe
came
maybe
back.
this is a good
Yeah.
bridge to what you guys are doing today.
Yes, I came back. Actually, I came back in when was it? December last year of my university. Then I had another internship at Schneider Electric. So I was doing research and development for collaborative robots. So after that experience, more into like system integrators, I went to robot manufacturers, and yeah, there I was working mainly on how to improve, for example, safety and motion control of the collaborative robots of Schneider Electric. Yeah, I don't know. I cannot say much about that. But yeah. Then I spent there in Germany. Again, it was a completely different experience because it was in a very small place in Germany.
So you spoke German?
Yes, yes, I spoke German.
So we could have continued our conversation earlier on in German.
No, I don't know. Very in English. Because now I'm not speaking German that much, so I forgot it a bit. But yes, and then I spent these months there. And actually, there I understood I don't want to do industrial, which is super funny, but I don't want to do industrial automation anymore, which is counterintuitive because now I'm building a company in industrial automation. But after this experience in the UK and after this experience in General Electric, I saw how slow it is to like build projects. And in general, to like if you program an application compared to if you're programming a robot, and how many details are there, how slow it is, how many certification you need to do, how you have to write the code and so on. And so I felt it was very much slower than what my pace was, my mental pace. I wanted to do more, let's say, cutting edge things. And then after that experience, I said, okay, I don't want to do industrial automation anymore. In fact, I did another internship in the summer at Deutsche Bank, so completely different, like purely software engineering, because I was like, okay, now I want to go into software, I want to go into AI. I don't care about industrial robots anymore.
Hmm.
Yes.
So this is a culture shock, right? I mean, it's the same static environment, but software versus hardware, right?
Yes. Yes, exactly. I mean, actually, it was I was in a fun it was a fun experience because it's in this new department at Deutsche Bank, which is technology something I don't remember. TDI is the abbreviation, but it was like operating as a startup. To be honest, it was like a team of 15 people, super strong, all of them. And they were doing like collateral management, so a new platform to integrate into the bank. So they were basically serving the bank. It was like a sort of external product development company. You could imagine it. And there it was very interesting to also understand how to do like how to do software at scale, because there you have billions of like my job was to create a microservice to analyze billions of transactions per day. So there you start to think, okay, how can I build a software that scales, that can handle all this load? So completely different topic, but very interested. And also I always had like, apart from robotics and like this part, I always had an interest in financials, in the financials part. So like I don't know, I participated in Optiver hackathons, did like already some sort of algorithmic trading solutions already in like during my university. So the financial sector was always interesting to me. So I said, okay, let's do something completely different. Let's try it out. And I did this internship. But then at that time, I also got the, I didn't know exactly what to do with my life at that point, to be honest, because I was like, okay, I tried industrial automation. I thought this is what I wanted to do in my life. I think it's super slow, the corporate job. I don't want to do this. Now let's try software engineering. Let's see if I like it more or less. And then I got into ETH robotics, and for me it was really difficult decision at that point because I was not sure I wanted to do it. I thought, okay, maybe I can just work a few years and then do an MBA, because I always had this also passion for like I liked the engineering, but I also liked to bring technology to the market. So this sort of business mindset
Mhm.
of creating technology more for the impact that you can give to the technology more than like the tech behind it.
Mhm.
Um, and so, but then yeah, after a few discussions, I said, okay, I think it's a great network, it's a great opportunity. I'll go to ETH and I'll do my master's in robotics. And then, yeah, then in September 2023, I moved to Zurich and just started a new life again.
Quite a journey. 2023 is quite a while ago, right?
Yes.
So that brings us to what are you guys? I mean, how do you get from moving to ETH and what you guys are doing today?
Yeah, that's another journey.
That's what we're here for.
But yes, at that point, I mean, when I moved to ETH, yeah, again, I thought, okay, I'm here, but mainly for the network. I want to build a startup. Like this was clear at that point in my mind. So it was, okay, I want to build a startup. I think ETH is a great network where I could do this. This is why also you can choose a tutor, and I choose Sigvart as my tutor because he
Mhm.
had so much experience in entrepreneurship, and I really wanted to do it. So first thing I did when I went to ETH was, okay, let's do a list of all the entrepreneurial things I can do at ETH. So I did venture capital at Wonderful Campus. I did Entrepreneur Club where I led Incube. This is also another project I did, and I grew it from 0 to 500K of revenue in 6 months. Then I did Talent Kick. Then I did anything that could have like a sort of relationship with entrepreneurship. I started doing it. And then I started Talent Kick. And there at the beginning, I had other projects going on, as always, like so many projects going on. And during Talent Kick, I met Fede, who is now my co-founder. And he was working also on his startup. It was like an app for journey, for like traveling. And I hate that idea. I was working more on, because I did this project of like avatars. So learning through like speaking with avatars. And I had these sort of projects of an app where you could just talk to an avatar to learn languages. Because through over my experience, I was like, okay, it's stupid to learn languages with just a book. So the best way is to talk, but there is no way to talk like in a very accessible way. So I said, okay, what if you put an avatar that can talk and can adjust to your level? So I was working on this project, Fede was working on this project, and we spent like 6 months where, yeah, we were basically working together, but each of us on their things. And it was super funny because he was trying to convince him to join his project, and I was trying to convince him to join my project. Then at that, like after a few months, after 6 months, his project failed in the sense that basically exactly they figured out there was a competitor that was dominating the market and it didn't make a lot of sense and was not getting any traction. I got an acquisition offer for my project where I could just, it was like a people acquisition. So there was this startup in Italy that was doing like e-learning stuff and they wanted to acquire our like sort of MVP with us as founders, giving us a few shares for free. And so at that point, had to decide, okay, do I go through this path and I'm hired in a company, I don't know the founders really well, or do I just like leave it? And at that point, I left it and he left his project. So we're like, okay, what if we now sit down and do it together? Because like, yeah, we know each other, we spend so much time, we like in terms of work culture, in terms of mentality. And at that point, it was really okay. Let's write down what we're good at, what do we know, where we have insights, and let's find like some solution, like some ideas that we can work on. Then we started with a few basic ideas, like a few ideas, like 4 or 5. We tested them super quickly. They were not working. But from the beginning, it was clear that the one in industrial automation was the one that made more sense because he had experience working consulting industrial automation. I had these two experiences and another one that I didn't mention. And then it was like, okay, we should work in here. And I was actually telling him why I left the industry because I didn't like it, because I felt like it was super slow. And he was mentioning the same. So it was, okay, this is a problem we care about. Let's sit down together and do it. And then funny enough, I was also living with my other co-founder, who is also ETH Robotics graduate. And he was working on a technology to make it much easier, much faster to program and control industrial robots at ETH. And so at that point, it was like, okay, we're the best team. Like we were discussing it overnight. He was like at dinner, he was telling me about his project, about his research, how it was progressing. It was getting some good initial results. And I was like, okay, what if we do it on this? And this is how it started. And it started at the end of 2024, sort of.
A year ago.
Yes, a year ago. Then at the beginning, we were not like really full time, but we tested, like we talked to a few potential customers, and from the beginning it was yes, 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 yes. This is a point. This is a problem. This is a problem. This is a problem. This is a problem. Because like again, the problem is really the fact that industrial automation is so fragmented that is super slow in order to program, reprogram, or bring intelligence to any of these machines, because you have so many different components where each has their own platform, their own software, their own programming language, hundreds of communication protocols. And this makes it super slow to develop or to improve current processes. And so we started with a few initial MVPs, starting from the technology that Rick had, and tested out super fast. And yeah, we got a lot of traction. Like already 1 month in the project, we had one customer told us, "Oh, can you come on site and can we do a pilot together?" And we were like, "Oh fuck, guys, now what do we do? Like we don't have much." We just have like an MVP and a nice front end, and we need to make it work. So yeah, I think at that point when we saw, okay, it's really going very fast, way more than what we could expect. Now we need to be full time on this. And then we started full time on that.
I mean, getting the because I talk to a lot of not only on the podcast but in my work to a lot of founders, to a lot of seed, pre-seed, Series A, and there's this especially in robotics and AI. You have the technology, and you was something you said problem. So this is the right initial starting point, right? A lot of people have technology and looking for something where they can apply the technology to, right? Which is not the best way of doing things, because if there's really demand, and you said you talked to a few, it's always good to talk to as many as you can. But you said you got some traction and always and got the right signal from them. So this was, if that was earlier on, so a year ago, how was then spring? So when did you guys decide that, okay, it needs to be full time, and how does that correlate to you being in university?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it was clear, like after the initial pilot, that we had to start full time. Also because we were getting like more potential pilots, more potential projects, and we were like, okay, we need to spend all of our energy here. And so yeah, at that point we started full time. I still had we all three had the thesis to do, so like we're just writing it in parallel. I mean, it's done, but we still need to submit it. Um, and yes, and then at that point it was like, okay, now we spend 100 hours, like we spend all of our time, founders' time, to do this. Um, and it was like this, and it was moved very fast. We got already some, like we got some initial, venture kick and all of this support, so that we could continue. And then already in July we got some initial term sheets, and then we used that to do the proper round of that we closed in then like less than a week. So we had 5 competing offers, so it was very smooth in terms of fundraising process. And then after that, yeah, once we closed this 4.5 million, it was just about, okay, now we need to really establish a company and building process, hiring people, finalizing all the most important things, and looking for new customers.
And especially this part, because this is very hard to teach yourself. Because the technology part you can figure out, talking to clients you can figure out. But was the network part of how, because the negotiation, the finance part, the raising money part, and all the, like you said, the term sheets, but all the documentation, all this, how was that handled by? Did you had some advisory? Did you had some help from the network? How was that for you guys?
So we had already an advisory actually in the sense that we already had Massimo Banzi, the founder of Arduino, as angel investor. We had a few like very interesting people already in our advisory. But I think like most of the funding part was done by us independently. So it was mainly I did work a bit in VC, so I did work at Wonderful Campus. So I heard a bit like what you need to do and like what are a good practice, what investors are looking at in founders. And so we just try to be, let's say, to build a narrative that was matching what investors were looking for. Also, we got 170 of reach outs all over flying, starting from February to July. And we never replied to investors, but mainly because we were focusing on, okay, how can we get more traction so that the fundraising process is so simple that it doesn't matter. Like we don't need to spend so much time on taking calls, right? So this is what we heard, what we learned, and what we applied in terms of, okay, not talking to investors if you are not ready. So wait until it's the right moment. At that moment, so in this month, we tried to get a few LOIs, letter of interest. So we did two pilots. We got a few letter of interest. So we saw, okay, now we have enough traction to raise. And then at that point, we started to talk to investors and it went very fast. And again, there the goal was, okay, how can we not spend 3 months fundraising because this is our time and we need to build a company at the end. So yeah, it's just, okay, let's put super crazy deadlines and let's try to do it in 1 week. So how can we compress this the most? And in that week, we were taking calls from like 8 a.m. until 3 a.m. All the time, me, my co-founder, sometimes, yeah, independently, sometimes together. And there we got like 5 term sheets, and then we chose the one that was most aligned with what we wanted to do.
How do you fill up the pipeline of having these kind of calls in 1 week?
How we filled up.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just people that already contact us. We had 170 people that contact us, so we took the best ones, the one that were more aligned with what we want to do, and then yes, contact them.
So this is the result of the outreach you did months before.
They reach out to us. I would never reach out.
No, no. Maybe I understood this wrongly. So during that process of the earlier year, you got so many interests that you were able to file this up and stack this up. So then you were able to filter and then.
Yes, exactly. And then reach out again to the ones like yeah, the ones we wanted to work with or we thought we could work with.
Because a lot of people are having this kind of struggle. I mean, and this might be the network that you worked earlier on to establish, as you said, being in those courses, being in those programs, to get this initial contact, right? Because
Yeah.
when you work on something, not necessarily there's people reaching out to you because first they need to know that you exist, right?
But I think you can just do a very smart move, which is putting stealth mode under your profile. And if you're ETH Robotics, then people will just starting to contact you.
Smart move. It was very well orchestrated and very well played. I think the majority of people saw this online. Was yeah, very well done. I think also from a marketing perspective. I mean, the technology needs to come first, right? But a lot of people are good at the technology part, but not too good at the marketing sales part of it. So I think you guys are a rare combination where everything came together.
Yeah, no, I think the fact is that our team is super complementary, right? Like you can see a lot of startups going out of ETH just being PhD researchers, and then you have 3 people that are the same people, right? They did the same job, they worked in the lab together, and this is how the company started. In our case, it's completely different. Like you have Fede that is completely from another perspective, like purely business. He did consulting in industrial automation, so completely a different angle. I had to look at the problem. Then there is me that I was working mainly in the actual industrial automation, like manufacturing plants and so on. And then there is Rick, who is 100% on the tech side, and he had the more insights and also the research part of it. So we have really completely different views on the problem, on the same problem that we all experienced. And in this way, we can merge different, we can get spikes, not just in the technology, but also on the customer side, as well as on the marketing side. And I think this is also what makes our team so strong, because we're super aligned in terms of values, but yeah, with completely different backgrounds.
It seems that there's a bit of a Zurich hype at the moment, and I really enjoyed it. I just came back yesterday on a project that I'm working on, and it's nice to see that Europe is still very strong. There's a wave of people still believing that we could do something here. So thanks for giving it a shot and putting all your effort and energy into that. But also thanks for sharing these not very straight-lined CV, which I always enjoy the most, because it shows people that why limiting yourself. And I have some people saying, so, yeah, you do this and that, but nothing really. And I say, well, why should I? I mean, you did sports on competitive level, and all the learnings and the stamina, the discipline, the work ethic, you apply it on something different, and you take a lot of joy out of that. The technology part, and now you're being an entrepreneur. I think squeezing the most out of everything that is around you, right? I mean, there's nothing bad in just doing one thing, as you said. I don't want to judge anybody here, but I personally enjoy this kind of journey, and I enjoyed our conversation. And I'm very thankful that you took some time out of your very busy schedule, because I know that you guys are very busy.
No, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to share it, and yes, I look forward to also what we can achieve, and if we can talk again in a few years to see where we stand.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And yeah, say hi to your co-founders. Like I said, there was the conversation who would be on the podcast, but I'm very happy that you said yes. So thanks for that, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye, Leah.
Bye bye.
Thank you.